Listen to me closely. 2026 is coming. Whether you're ready or not, time does not negotiate. Life does not wait until you feel ready. And regret? Regret is patient. It's already sitting in your future, wondering if you're about to earn it. This is not a motivational speech. This is a wake-up call. Because the truth is brutal. Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they waste time pretending tomorrow is guaranteed. If you want your life to look different by 2026, you must move differently starting now. Here are 5 things you must do. No excuses, no delays, no half commitment. Decide who you are, because until you do, the world will decide for you. And the world is reckless with human potential. If you don't plant your feet and claim your identity, life will push you into whatever space is available. You wake up one day living a life you never consciously chose, wondering how you got there. Identity is not discovered by accident. It is forged by decision. Right now, you must stop waiting for clarity to fall from the sky and understand this truth. Clarity comes after commitment. The moment you decide who you are becoming, your mind sharpens, your actions align, and distractions lose their grip. Most people confuse motion with progress. They stay busy, but they are not intentional. They work, but they are not aligned. They move, but they are not directed. That's what happens when identity is undefined. You chase opportunities that aren't meant for you. You say yes to things that drain you. You adopt goals that look impressive but feel empty. When you decide who you are, you stop negotiating with everything that doesn't serve that vision. Your standards rise, your focus narrows, and suddenly your energy stops leaking in every direction. Understand this. Identity shapes behavior, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel confident before you act confidently. You act in alignment with the person you've decided to be. Every action is a vote for that identity. When you decide you are disciplined, you show up even when it's uncomfortable. When you decide you are resilient, you don't collapse at the first sign of resistance. The power isn't in the result, it's in the repetition. Over time, the decision becomes undeniable truth. The reason fear feels so loud is because your identity is still being debated. Fear thrives in uncertainty. It grows when you haven't made a final decision about who you are and what you stand for. Once you decide, fear doesn't disappear, but it loses authority. It stops running your life. You stop asking, "What if I fail?" and start asking, "What does the person I've decided to be do next?" That shift changes everything. Confidence is not arrogance, it's alignment. This decision requires honesty. You can't decide who you are while lying to yourself about your effort, your discipline, or your habits. Identity demands integrity. You must look at your daily actions and ask whether they match the person you claim you want to become. If they don't, the problem isn't motivation, it's decision. When your identity is clear, your choices become simpler. Not easier, simpler. You stop debating with yourself every morning. You already know who you are. And once you decide, you must defend that identity fiercely. People will test it. Circumstances will challenge it. Old versions of you will try to resurface. That's not failure. That's confirmation that the decision is working. Every time you choose alignment over comfort, you reinforce the identity you've claimed. This is how transformation begins. Not with external change, but with an internal decision that refuses to be undone. Discipline is the bridge between the life you want and the life you're currently living. And most people never cross it because they treat discipline like a feeling instead of a decision. They wait to feel motivated, inspired, confident, or ready, not realizing that discipline doesn't care how you feel. Discipline is loyalty to your future self. It's showing up when the excitement is gone, when nobody is clapping, when the results aren't visible yet. Anyone can work hard when they're being watched. Anyone can perform when praise is guaranteed. But discipline is built in silence. It's built when you do the work, even when the world has forgotten to check on you. What you do consistently will always outweigh what you do occasionally. One inspired week will never beat one disciplined year. Discipline is not about intensity, it's about consistency. It's waking up and executing even when your mind is heavy and your body is tired. It's training yourself to follow through, especially on the days you feel like quitting. Because those are the days that matter most. Discipline is the muscle that carries you through doubt. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, that muscle grows stronger. Every time you break one, it weakens. And over time, your life becomes a reflection of which promises you honored. Most people underestimate how powerful small, disciplined actions can be, because they are obsessed with immediate transformation. They want dramatic change overnight. But discipline works quietly. It compounds, it stacks, it builds momentum in ways you don't notice at first. One extra hour of focused work a day doesn't feel life-changing until months pass and you're miles ahead of where you started. One disciplined decision doesn't seem significant until it becomes a habit, and that habit becomes your identity. Discipline doesn't scream for attention, it waits patiently for results to speak on its behalf. Discipline also requires structure, not just willpower. Willpower fades, structure sustains. If you rely on motivation alone, you will lose. Discipline means creating systems that make doing the right thing easier and doing the wrong thing harder. It means controlling your environment instead of letting it control you. It means setting non-negotiables and honoring them regardless of mood. You don't ask yourself if you feel like showing up. You show up because that's who you are. Discipline is removing decision fatigue from your life by deciding in advance how you operate. Being disciplined means learning to sit with discomfort without running from it. Growth is uncomfortable by nature. Discipline teaches you how to stay present when everything in you wants to escape. It teaches you how to work through boredom, resistance, and frustration. Most people quit not because the task is impossible, but because the discomfort feels unfamiliar. Discipline trains you to understand that discomfort is not a stop sign. It's a signal that you're expanding. The more disciplined you become, the less power discomfort has over you. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Discipline is self-respect in action. When you are disciplined, you are telling yourself that your goals matter, your time matters, and your future matters. Lack of discipline isn't a character flaw, it's a habit of self-betrayal. Every skipped commitment sends a message to your subconscious that your word doesn't carry weight. Discipline rebuilds that trust. It teaches you that you can rely on yourself. And once you trust yourself, confidence becomes inevitable because you know without question that you will do what needs to be done, whether anyone is watching or not. Everything in your life is either fueling you or draining you, and pretending otherwise is costing you more. Then you realize, energy is not infinite, focus is not unlimited, time is not refundable. Yet most people allow open access to their mind, their emotions, and their future without ever questioning the price. Before real growth can happen, you have to get brutally honest about what is taking from you instead of building you. Some things don't attack you loudly. They exhaust you quietly. They wear you down in conversations that go nowhere, habits that numb instead of nourish, environments that feel familiar but leave you depleted. If something consistently pulls you away from the person you're trying to become, it is not harmless. It is harmful. Letting go is difficult because attachment disguises itself as loyalty. You tell yourself you're being patient, understanding, compassionate. But there's a difference between compassion and self-abandonment. You can care about people and still recognize that they are not meant to walk with you into your next chapter. Some people only know how to relate to the old version of you. When you begin to grow, they feel uncomfortable. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because your evolution exposes their stagnation. And instead of rising, they pull. Instead of supporting, they question. Not everyone who loves you is equipped to grow with you. Your environment shapes your standards more than your intentions ever will. You can have the biggest dreams in the world, but if you spend your days in places that normalize mediocrity, comfort, and excuses, your dreams will slowly shrink to fit that space. You start adjusting your goals to match the room you're in. You start silencing your ambition so you don't stand out. That's not humility. That's self-sabotage. Growth requires environments that challenge you, stretch you, and sometimes make you uncomfortable. If where you are doesn't demand more from you, it will eventually take more from you. Habits are another silent rain most people refuse to confront. Not because they don't know the habits are hurting them, but because the habits are soothing. They distract. They numb. They offer temporary relief while quietly stealing long-term progress. Scrolling, procrastinating, overindulging, avoiding responsibility. These aren't just time wasters. They train your brain to choose ease over excellence. Every habit you repeat is a vote for the life you're creating. And if you're honest, some of your habits are voting against the future you say you want. Cutting them off isn't about punishment, it's about alignment. This process requires boundaries, and boundaries will make some people uncomfortable. That discomfort is not your responsibility. When you begin to protect your energy, people who benefited from your lack of boundaries will push back. They'll call you distant, they'll say you've changed, they'll accuse you of being selfish. But what they're really reacting to is loss of access. You are no longer available for dysfunction, chaos, or endless emotional labor. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They allow what supports you and block what drains you. And you don't need permission to protect what matters. Cutting off what drains you is an act of respect for the life you're building. You cannot keep everything and still become everything you're capable of being. Something has to go. Sometimes it's a person, sometimes it's a pattern, sometimes it's a belief you've carried for years. Letting go feels like loss at first, but what follows is clarity, space, strength. When you remove what drains you, your energy doesn't just return, it multiplies. And with that energy comes focus, momentum, and the ability to finally move forward without being pulled backward by everything you were too afraid to release. Most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they keep waiting for permission from a future version of themselves that doesn't exist yet. They wait to feel ready, confident, prepared, certain. But readiness is a myth that keeps potential trapped. If you wait until fear disappears, you will wait forever. Action is not the reward for confidence. Confidence is the byproduct of action. Every major shift in your life will begin while your hands are shaking and your mind is full of doubt. That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That's the sign you're doing something that matters. The truth is, clarity comes after movement, not before it. You don't think your way into courage. You move your way into it. Sitting still feels safe, but safety has a hidden cost. While you're waiting, time is still moving. Opportunities are still passing. Someone else is doing the thing you keep talking yourself out of. Bold action interrupts stagnation. It forces growth. It creates feedback. You learn faster by doing imperfectly than by planning perfectly. Action turns ideas into experience. and experience sharpens instinct. Without action, potential stays theoretical, and theoretical success changes nothing. Fear is not your enemy, hesitation is. Fear simply means you care. It means the outcome matters to you. But hesitation teaches fear how to control you. Every time you hesitate, you reinforce the belief that fear gets the final say. Bold action rewires that relationship. When you act despite fear, you teach your nervous system that discomfort is survivable, that rejection won't destroy you, that failure won't end you. And once your body understands that truth, fear loses its grip. It stops being a barrier and becomes background noise. Bold action also demands that you release the need for perfection. Perfection is just procrastination in a nicer outfit. You don't need a flawless plan. You need momentum. You need movement. You need to start. Growth is messy. Progress is awkward. Mastery is built on mistakes. The people you admire didn't avoid failure. They collected it. They failed forward. They adjusted. They refined. They kept moving. The only real mistake is standing still while pretending you're preparing. Taking bold action means betting on yourself before the evidence shows up. It means acting as if you are capable before the world agrees with you. That kind of faith is uncomfortable because it requires internal validation instead of external approval. You stop asking, what if this doesn't work? And start asking, what if I don't try? Bold action shifts your identity from observer to participant, from thinker to doer, from someone who dreams to someone who builds. And once you cross that line, there's no going back to passivity without pain. Every bold action you take expands your capacity for the next one. Courage compounds. The first step is the hardest because it breaks inertia. After that, momentum carries you. You stop overthinking and start responding. You trust yourself more because you have proof. You've moved before and survived. Bold action doesn't guarantee success, but it guarantees growth. And growth is the only path that leads anywhere new. When you stop waiting to feel ready and start moving anyway, you don't just change what you do, you change who you are becoming. Waiting to feel ready is the most socially acceptable way people abandon their potential. It sounds responsible, it sounds mature, but underneath it is fear dressed up as logic. Readiness implies certainty, and certainty is something life never hands out in advance. The people who transform their lives don't move because they're sure. It's because they're willing to be wrong, willing to be seen trying, willing to step forward without guarantees. If you study every breakthrough moment in your life, you'll notice it didn't begin with confidence. It began with a decision made in uncertainty. That decision didn't remove fear, it made fear irrelevant. There is a dangerous comfort in overthinking. Planning can feel productive while quietly keeping you stuck. You research, you prepare, you analyze, you tell yourself you're being strategic, but weeks turn into months and nothing changes. Action is the only thing that creates clarity. You cannot think your way into a new identity. You have to act your way into it. Movement reveals information that contemplation never will. When you act, you learn what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. When you don't act, you learn nothing and call it patience. Bold action requires you to accept that embarrassment is part of growth. You will look inexperienced. You will say the wrong thing. You will make mistakes that feel obvious in hindsight. But embarrassment is not fatal. Regret is. Every person you admire has a long history of being bad at what they're now great at. The difference is they didn't let the fear of looking foolish stop them from starting. They understood that dignity is built through effort, not preserved through avoidance. Bold action means choosing long-term respect over short-term comfort. One of the biggest lies fear tells you is that failure will define you. In reality, avoidance defines you far more clearly. Failure is temporary data. Avoidance becomes a pattern. When you take bold action, even if you fail, you gain something invaluable: self-trust. You prove to yourself that you are willing to try, willing to risk, willing to move. That proof changes how you see yourself. You stop identifying as someone who waits and start identifying as someone who acts. Identity follows behavior, and behavior is born in moments of courage. Taking bold action also forces you to confront responsibility. Once you move, you can no longer blame circumstances, timing, or other people. Action puts you in the arena where results, good or bad, belong to you. That level of ownership is uncomfortable, but it is also empowering. When you accept responsibility, you reclaim control. You stop being a spectator in your own life. You stop hoping things will change and start making changes. Bold action shifts your relationship with power. You realize it was never outside of you. Each time you take action before you feel ready, you expand your tolerance for uncertainty. You train your nervous system to operate under pressure instead of retreating from it. Over time, what once felt terrifying becomes familiar. You don't become fearless. You become capable of moving through doubt, capable of adapting, capable of continuing even when outcomes are unclear. That capacity is what separates people who talk about change from people who create it. And it is built one bold, imperfect step at a time. Time is not gentle, and it is not forgiving. It does not slow down because you're confused, scared, or unprepared. It keeps moving with or without your permission. Every single day takes something from you that you will never get back. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because most people live as if time is abundant, as if there will always be another year, another chance, another moment when things calm down and they finally start. But abundance is an illusion. Time is the most limited resource you have, and how you spend it is the clearest reflection of what you truly value, not what you say you value. Living like time is finite forces honesty. You stop lying to yourself about later. Later is vague. Later is comfortable. Later is where dreams go to die quietly. When you understand that your days are numbered, urgency replaces hesitation. You stop tolerating situations that drain you. You stop investing energy into things that don't move you forward. You become intentional with your mornings, your conversations, your commitments. You begin to ask better questions. Not do I feel like doing this, but is this worthy of my time? That shift alone can change the entire direction of a life. When you truly grasp the reality of time, excuses lose their power. You realize that procrastination is not harmless. It is expensive. Every delayed decision compounds into lost momentum. Every ignored opportunity quietly closes a door. You don't get unlimited chances to rewrite your story. There are seasons for growth, and when those seasons pass, effort becomes heavier. Living with urgency doesn't mean rushing. It means respecting the moment you're in. It means showing up fully instead of half present, half distracted, half committed. Time demands presence, not perfection. Living like time is finite also changes how you handle fear. Fear thrives when you believe you have forever to decide. But when you understand that your window is limited, fear becomes a luxury you can no longer afford. You stop asking yourself if you might fail and start asking yourself if you can afford not to try. The pain of action becomes smaller than the pain of regret. You recognize that discomfort now is far less damaging than disappointment later. Time clarifies priorities. It strips life down to what actually matters. This awareness reshapes relationships as well. You become more deliberate about who you give access to. You stop wasting emotional energy on constant conflict, petty drama, and surface-level connections. You seek depth, honesty, alignment. You say what needs to be said instead of assuming there will always be another chance to say it. You listen more closely. You appreciate more fully. When time is no longer assumed, presence becomes a form of respect for yourself and for others. Living like time is finite creates courage because it reminds you that waiting has a cost. Every day you don't act, you are actively choosing the life you are currently living. That realization is heavy, but it's also empowering. It puts responsibility back in your hands. You stop blaming circumstances and start owning choices. You begin to move with purpose, not panic. You understand that you don't need to do everything. You just need to do what matters consistently before the window closes.